We care a lot.
Yo, but we don't care about Google and their shenanigans.
Yes, their shenanigans. And
Yeah,
we're alive.
I was wondering going into this why it's like, how come like every Google Hangout thing is broadcast on like YouTube and not like Twitch? And it's like, oh yeah, because
Well, apparently everyone's like got a problem with Twitch ever since they got hacked. I'm like, really, guys? That's like part of the way the internet landscape.
yeah,
But
really
Twitch has got other problems I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
It's like a case of, we will not let you broadcast in 60 frames per second because we're too cheap to purchase more servers.
and also like the whole like lag from it's like the chat, like the display is lagged by like 30 seconds. So like anytime you're trying to like do commentary, like watching a stream, like it's horrible because it's it's delayed by 30 seconds. So I mean you're like reacting to things that happened 30 seconds ago, and it's just terrible. It's terrible for the audience. It's terrible for everyone involved.
I know it's.
So yay YouTube is what I'm saying. Yay Google apparently.
I mean,
I for one welcome our Google overlords.
Hey man, as long as I get my Google Fiber,
Google forever, yay!
Yeah, as long as I get the fiber, I'm fine.
Oh god, bring it on.
Dude, I use the Bucks Wi-Fi, which now actually is Google Fiber, apparently.
Is it good?
It's so awesome.
I must. That's going to be the thing that helps me. I need my Google. I need Google Fiber in my life. I need more Google Fiber in my diet. That's what I need. It makes me
at least 50 grams of Google Fiber every day.
Yes.
In addition to smoking up your weed.
We don't smoke.
So, like, maybe now the stream is up. Now, maybe like the chat will work. Maybe.
All right, hold on a second.
Fine.
Let's start putting the stream onto the Twitters.
Alright, don't forget to link it in the Twitter.
That's what I'm doing.
By the way, if for all those watching us, if it doesn't work, like if the Q&A it does not work, just talk to us on Twitter.
Yeah, we're listening. We're here. If there's like anyone actually in the YouTube land listening to us right now.
I think there's two watching, and one of them is me. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, I don't think it counts us.
Oh, it might not.
No, like last time we tried streaming, it didn't count me.
Fascinating. And there we go. Posted it on the Twitters. Okay, now we need to figure out where we're at on the stream. So, 3 viewers. Cool.
So what are you working on, Brad?
So let's see here. I mean, so for those of you who don't know, I am the lead developer on Rack, which is a cel-shaded first-person shooter, kind of like a Borderlands Doom kind of thing. That seems to be how most people describe it. And it's actually part of a pay-what-you-want deal on Indie Game Stand right now. So feel like checking out the game and don't want to like pay any money. If you want me to starve, you can check it out there. But I'm also I've also started a new podcast recently called the Game Design Podcast, where we talk about game design. That's kind of part of what brought me to this here stream in the first place. And then I've got another game that I'm working on, which can't get too much into right now, but hopefully sometime soon be able to kind of start sharing that with people. So
cool.
Should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. I like a good first-person shooter just as much as an ex-bloke, and cel-shaded, it's always awesome.
Yeah.
How many people you got working with you, or is it a solo project?
It's I mean, Rack had about 5 or so like really hardcore people working on it. It was me who like did way too much. It's like I did all the programming and design and levels and all that stuff. And then we actually had the guy who did the music and sound for Doom do the music and sound for this game, Bobby Prince. And a couple other modelers and animators. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, right now we're working on a survival horror title called
cool.
Minds.
Oh, that should do well. That is a popular genre right now.
Well, I mean, I think the reason why it's a popular genre right now is simply because, well, there's been a lot of there's been a lack of legitimate survival horror where the scares are good and you're on the edge of your seat. So it's sort of like every so often genres, switch favor. We'll go from action in the films to, back to horror. It's kind of like back and forth, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's like right now. I mean, it's like okay, well, with like movies, it's like for like 10 years, this like zombie movies will be super popular, and then for the next 10 years it'll be vampire, and it kind of goes back and forth. Like it's not really like one's better. It's just kind of like a trend thing. It's like people at first it's new and people like it, and then they kind of get sick of it, and then a new trend comes in.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, the idea, the game itself actually deals with a near-death experience that is interpreted as a maze that you have to go through, built from your subconscious and memories. Basic idea is, well, you have to get to the end of the maze to survive, and you have a certain amount of time while avoiding the creatures that dwell, your own personal demons.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, I'm happy. We have I think 10 people all together working on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, initially it started off as just a simple game jam, and then it kind of mutated a few times.
And that's
pretty common.
Either way, hopefully it will fuck up some heads and make you think about life.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the things. We're not doing it survival horror just for the sake of it being popular. We actually have an interesting story to tell, or at least I think we have an interesting story to tell.
Yeah.
And
I think you need that. I mean, you can't just survive on like, hey, this is a cool trend right now.
Yeah, I mean exactly. You gotta have some substance on with it,
Right.
Five Nights at Freddy's has the deepest lore.
I think that really the coolest thing about Five Nights at Freddy is the fact that it's blatantly obvious the guy got the idea from the murder that the robbery that happened to Chuck E. Cheese in Colorado back in the 90s.
It is funny. Like it does seem like some games are kind of blatantly cashing in on like trends and crazes. Like there's an actual game on Steam called like Yet Another Zombie Defense Game. It's just like...
That's more of someone saying enough zombies.
Right.
That seems like more taking a piss out of the genre, really, but still.
I kind of hope so. But and then others that probably aren't doing that, or are actually just legitimately trying to like cash in on the craze. It's like you have like Castle Miner Z and Guncraft. Not that I'm trying to like shit on those games or anything. Like, if you guys like,
exactly. I mean, it's
it does seem.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about we could be wrong, and they could be serious attempts at trying to do something deeper, meaningful. But even if they are cashing in, it probably is something cool. And hey, everybody's got to eat,
Yeah, and if it's what people want, I mean, why not give it to them? I've kind of gotten tired of like the whole like, oh, I'm like just kind of like, oh, well, you get like developers doing like what they think is like good for the audience, like they think their parents trying to make them eat vegetables. Like it just doesn't work. I mean, all you can really do is give people what they want, and hope they respond. And
What's worse is
instead of like trying to like legislate something.
What's worse is when they think they know everything.
If there's one thing I really hate about the Art of Game Design book by Jesse Shull, I hope that's how his name is pronounced. But yeah, it's like goes into the lenses, and one of those is the lens of social good and how you should make a game that's meaningful to people's lives. And I'm just like, that's not what any designer worth his salt is thinking about going into a game.
Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's a case of we wonder what's a good mechanic? Is this fun to play? Does this fit the overall feel of the game?
Right.
Or in other words, is it fun?
Well, I mean,
Kind
it's
of.
one of those situations where, the current trend amongst the hipster types in the game design are games don't have to be fun, and they're treating it like it's some sort of new revelation when
Gone
really,
home.
yeah, gone home.
Dear.
But, and of course, I'm thinking, guys, you do realize that there have been
Depression Quest. Oh.
No, we're trying. Go on, Bill.
Anyway, as I was saying, they're trying to treat this like this is some brand new revelation, that they're the ones who came up with it, and they're so proud of themselves for it. But really, there have been successfully well done games that weren't necessarily fun, but majorly engaging. Games like Myst. I mean, come on, tell me that you're actually having fun with Myst, or Grim Fandango. Not necessarily a fun game, but insanely funny.
Mhm.
Despite the recent controversy with Tim Schafer, which might not be a good idea to go over, but still.
Oh, he did Grim Fandango?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
did Grim Fandango. That was his game.
Okay, alright.
And
Yeah.
Psychonauts.
Or Roberta Williams.
Yeah, I knew that, yeah.
Or the 1995 Roberta Williams masterpiece, that is Phantasmagoria.
Right.
Not a fun game, but the story was good, and, well, it was legitimately eerie. It kept you, it kept you in. Yeah, you kept
Well, it's the thing is like it's, and I almost feel like you don't want to call it a game at this point, but it's more of like just kind of like an interactive medium, and I mean you can use that to accomplish just the way like a movie can, it can be fun, it can be heartfelt, like it can do all these things for you. Like I kind of feel like a game, as kind of like an interactive medium can kind of do the same thing. So it's like I'm obviously you want to have games that are fun, just the same way you want to have movies that are fun. But it's if you want to do like a kind of artsy kind of game, it like has a point of view and tries to make you feel certain things, whatever. Like that's fine, but it's not really a game at that point.
Well,
it really
the
all
way-
depends on it all depends on how you go about it.
Well,
Another
the
game
way-
that really had something to say that I wouldn't really consider fun, but pretty much grabbed me by the throat, and still does every time I play it, Silent Hill 2. I mean, Silent Hill 2 doesn't really, what really makes Silent Hill 2 stand out from most survival horror titles is with the standard survival horror affair, your protagonist is either this ex-military or he's a cop or something like that, a natural badass who's out to save the world from either an evil corporation unleashing a virus or trying to find a cure for a virus or whatnot. In Silent Hill, there's none of that. You play as a store clerk that got a letter from his wife.
Technically, he's a writer.
No, that's Harry Mason.
Oh.
And I never played Silent Hill 2, so I wouldn't know.
Well, I mean, basically, in Silent Hill 2, you play as James Sunderland, whose wife died 3 years ago, according to the story. And you get a letter from her saying, "I'm in Silent Hill, your special place. Come find me." And James's motivation isn't out. He's not out to save the world. He's not out to stop a virus. He's not out to rescue anyone. He's just wants closure. I mean, that story is actually pretty deep, and it does touch on themes that we all felt at one point or another. Loss, regret.
Coming to grips with the end and learning how to accept loss
Exactly.
and shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've all we've all lost someone at one point or another,
Right.
and tried to, reconcile it. We've said, well, whether it be a relationship gone, completely to hell, whether it be the, death of a, loved one or a member of the family, or rather it just be, a girlfriend that just up and left you with no real reason. You always, there's still that lingering bit of, if I could just have one more conversation with them, what would I say? Well,
Right.
and that's something we all feel at one point or another.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Silent Hill 2 really goes along, goes out of its way to encapsulate that, along with the overall feel of isolation, loneliness, and despair.
So, I mean, clearly the game isn't going for fun, but I mean, maybe like a better word is like engaged.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
But I mean, the thing is that using the hipster dev ideal of games shouldn't be fun. They seem to equate that as the player should not be there, as in the game will play itself. And I use this analogy whenever people bring up this argument of games don't need to be interactive. And my response is, making a game without gameplay is like making a film without visuals.
Right, yeah. A game without interactivity is basically a movie. Like, just
Yeah.
don't fucking do that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, if you want to make a movie, make a movie.
Right, yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's.
Did you hear that Call of Duty?
I know, right?
But Call of Duty's still fun.
Oh, no, I'm sure. It's just,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It depends on who you ask, really.
Yeah.
And that's fine. I mean, different games appeal to, like, no game should appeal to everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
I mean,
a physical impossibility.
well, I mean, I think that's really kind of what happened with the survival horror genre for a while, and with a lot of games, really. When Black Ops dropped, that game made billions, billions of dollars, billions and billions of dollars, and everyone saw that. They're like, okay, how do I get that kind of money? And then everyone just looked at the properties they had and said, okay, let's turn Dead Space into a third-person shooter. See how well that works out. And it didn't.
But Dead Space did pretty good.
Dead Space
Well,
1 and
here's
2
the
did
thing.
well, but Dead Space 3 completely... It was a survival horror game without survival horror. And for bonus Jimmy Rustling, there was microtransactions for the game.
I can say one thing as Dead Space fan, okay? Dead Space 1 and 2, they have their problems. Oh dear God, they have their problems. But compared to those problems, they are minor complaints compared to everything wrong with Dead Space 3.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I took away the microtransactions, even if I took away all the EA bullshit, the moment you get all out of space and onto the planet, the whole game just falls to pieces.
Yeah.
And that final
Everything-
boss.
Don't.
But it sounds
But
like they just did a
moving-
bad job of executing it, not that they didn't have a good game plan necessarily. Like they just did a bad job with it, not that it was bad to try and copy Call of Duty more.
Well, I mean, it's one of those situations. A lot of these things, it seems to me a lot of the issues come up when you actually look at the budget of the game. Dead Space 3 had an insane budget of how much did they spend making that money or making that game?
I want to say it was something like 10 or 5 mil, but
Yeah.
it could have been more.
Yeah, I mean, from what I understand, they had to sell at least 60 million copies just to break even. 5 million copies. 5. Okay, all right. Okay, that's not as much of an insane number as I thought it was, but
Yeah, but still.
it was one of those situations where when you actually you gotta really take into consideration what you're spending your money on. If you're doing a survival horror game, that's going to have a considerably smaller audience than the Call of Duty franchise.
Mm-hmm.
That's not saying one is better than the other. It's just
Right.
fact. I mean, more people are willing to watch Michael Bay blow shit up on camera than have
Like with the Imitation Game, that Oscar. Never mind.
No. It's a case of more people want to watch Michael Bay ruin Transformers than they want to watch David Lynch push the boundaries of film with Eraserhead.
Well,
There
okay.
you go. There you
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, but I'd argue that Eraserhead really was just weird for the sake of being weird.
Well, whatever. The point stands.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with the point, obviously, but that's really what it boils down to. And if you're going to make a survival horror game and you want it to actually at least break even and make a profit, you really need to take your budget into consideration. If you look at the more successful horror titles, your Silent Hill games, or let's go with the original 4 Silent Hill games, just for an example. You really need to take consideration the size of your audience and how much money you're going to spend on this. It's sort of like with horror films in general. If you look what brought in the cash when it came to the 80s horror films, it was a lot of the films were cheap slasher films, like the Friday the 13th series. The reason why there were like 20 of those darn things is because they made money. The reason why they made money is because they had a shoestring budget.
Right.
So they got inventive with what they could do with the stuff they could afford.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that's key to any company and any industry staying in business. I mean, being efficient, spending your resources wisely.
Yeah, and making sure you have the talent that can work within the limitations you have. I mean, case in point.
Can I just say something quick?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so money doesn't guarantee success.
No, obviously.
Yeah, there's a lot of $1 million flops.
There's actually a certain $500 million flop that is still floating around on over EA's head.
The Tortanic. That's still not floating at the bottom yet.
I think that is sunk. That ship sank long ago, but still, regardless. That's one of the reasons I've always liked the horror genre, because it was inventive with the way they worked within their limitations. I mean, they use the camera. I used to do special effects, and one of the things that you learn is the camera actually is 90% of the effect. Where you put it, how you shoot it.
Speaking of which, wasn't the fog in Silent Hill 2 just a graphical imitation?
Yes, actually, it was. It was the way to cover up the draw distance. I mean, that's the reason why the fog existed in the first place.
Yeah, because if you actually look at the HD collection, and I know Bill is going to be mad at me for recommending people look at it, but it's a case of if you look at it, it's early beta code that didn't have the fog in, so you get to see just how bad those draw distances were.
Yeah, so they worked within their limitations, and they said, okay, how can we, cover this up? We don't have the budget that Resident Evil had, because Konami wasn't, sitting as pretty as Capcom was at the time. So they said, okay, well, this is supposed to be an eerie game, right?
I'd say they are now, but I think both them and Capcom are not sitting pretty. But
well, with Capcom, it's a series of bonehead steps after bonehead steps. That
no question.
And with Konami, I guess giving Hideo Kojima too much money might be the issue there. I don't know. I mean,
I just feel like they haven't had like a big hit, like a franchise really do well for them recently. It's like Lords of Shadow. I don't think. I think 1 did okay, but 2 didn't do all that well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's another.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's another bag of goodies, and we only have 3 people watching us. We should totally spam the stream out on the Twitters.
You just realized that.
Oh yeah, I'm having fun. I used to DJ on MMO radio. Okay, so even if I had 10 people listening, I was having fun just playing music and shooting the breeze on the air.
Why does that?
Well, we don't have
10.
Yeah, we don't have music and all that, so start spamming the stream. Anybody who's listening, tell your friends. We have an actual game designer here, not a couple of rank amateurs. Or indie schmucks, as I refer to ourselves.
Ah, fuck.
I try to never use the indie as an excuse for mediocrity.
No,
so it's like in terms of the design and even the visuals, we're always going for it hardcore.
Oh yeah, I mean that was one of the things that kind of irked me when we first started out early on in the over at Team Salmon. We were actually on the extra credits forums where someone that was apparently high up, this German chick, I can't remember her name, suggested, looked at the concept art that I had out at the time And she's like, you're putting too much effort into this. You're doing, you're putting in too much for something that's not going to even make it. You should just focus on doing something simple like blocks. And my response is, well, if you're not going to put all of your effort into it, why bother?
Yeah, I'm totally with you on that, but I think what's sad is like, and I've kind of learned this maybe a little bit the hard way. It's like if you really go for it, like do a great job with it, then it doesn't look indie, and then it's like then the indie audience doesn't necessarily want to embrace it.
Oh,
If
yeah.
it doesn't look like an
This-
indie game, then
This is kind of why I can't stand my quote-unquote fellow indies, because they don't want to put in the effort.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, I kind of...
I get the distinct impression that they are lazy slobs that do not want to perfect their craft and move up the chain. They want to
So like
stay
I
in that.
spent 6 years on a rack working on it, like really hardcore. I mean, it's 3D, it's its own engine, all this stuff. I went to PAX South recently. I had like other developers, tell me like, yeah, man, I also worked really hard on my game. It's like I worked like 6 months on. I'm like, 6 months? Are you kidding me?
Well, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Like, do not put yourself in the same category. I'm sorry, but
Oh, yeah, I mean, we've actually been working on... Well, actually, if you want to get technical, this team has been working on... This team has been working for, like, what, 2 years?
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, and of course,
And
I've
this
been
isn't
in the indie... And I've actually been in the indie scene for at least 6.
Mm-hmm.
Where I started off where the team I started working with originally was and I know this is gonna probably catch me a lot of flack, but a Pokemon fan game made from scratch. The idea was, I know it's lame, but it was just something to say. I looked at it as something to put on my resume.
It's more along the lines of something that's been done to death.
Well, again, we were instead of using RPG Maker or anything like that, we were actually building our own engine for the game. And the idea was it was going to be set in the actual, U.S. regions, like
Did
for-
FEMA make a Pokemon game?
Yeah, FEMA did that, or not FEMA, PETA.
Yeah,
did.
PETA.
PETA. Yeah, if it was FEMA, there'd be a lot of conspiracy theories floating around with that.
So,
It's the
like,
honey pot.
in the PETA version, like the Pokemon just run wild and like claw everyone in the eye, and then the players are just like, "Oh, you're such a good little Pikachu," with like blood gushing out of there.
Yeah, it was.
Like animals are not nice. I don't know where they get this from.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
Yeah.
domesticated ones are nice. most
Well,
of
but
the
once again, these are guys that I'm thoroughly. These are all, as as the folks out here in the country would refer to as city folk. They don't understand how wildlife works, and
No. Well, like I don't think half the people in PETA realize like if the tables were turned, like that animal would eat the
Eat you.
fuck out of you.
Yeah.
exactly.
Like no, like just because that bear has cute fur doesn't mean it's your friend.
Yeah, exactly.
So
bear
basically,
man
they are proto-furs.
I wouldn't go that far, but as I was saying, back to one of the limitations. We're going 16-bit with our game, mainly because
Cool. I don't think that's seen enough. Like I mean, so many people go 8, and I think 16 is pretty underrepresented.
The thing is, our 16-bit deal is we're basically creating Doom sprites.
yeah, exactly, but well-crafted Doom sprites.
Are you guys on the team together?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All 3 of us are on the same team.
Oh, cool. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Firewolf is our marketing. Jake over there is the HR/a producer in training, aka the Gopher, aka the Butt Boy, and the writer slash.
I don't want to know why he has the title Butt Boy.
As in,
Because apparently being the producer is a thankless job when you have to scream at people to get shit done.
Yeah.
no, exactly. Well, I mean, usually that's because I'm cool about everything. I don't have to scream. I'm just like zen throughout most of my time.
Oh, and recently we learned that I cannot be the vital.
Yeah, that's why I'm writing.
But see,
I ain't gonna write.
grow some balls. I've been dealing with too many celebrity animators who are too cool to respond. Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's another thing to take into consideration when you're looking for people to, come join your team. You don't want to look for anybody, let's say you browse DeviantArt and you're looking for spriters. One, you want to make sure that they have talent, but you want to make sure they're not too well known. You want to find someone that's actually hungry and that wants it.
Yeah.
And if you can, and you smooth them, well enough, saying, hey, look, we have a plan to try and raise funds for a full game that might be able to, so we can work on this full time. Which in our case, we're talking about trying to sell T-shirts. We don't want to go on Kickstarter due to its nasty reputation for being lack of accountability when it comes to projects not coming being fulfilled, and everybody being essentially ripped off with their cash flow. Same with
he doesn't.
And we do not want to get a Patreon. Just no.
Yeah. It's more of a I'm from a working class family. I was it's drilled in my head that you work for your money. You don't.
Right.
You don't set up a Patreon. You don't go on Kickstarter. You don't crowdfund. You actually say, hey, I built this. We made this. We want to make more of it. We want to make it better.
And I did that, and I kind of feel like a little bit of a chump for having done it. Like I really feel like I should have done Kickstarter. And I mean, it's not because like the money it would bring, but it's just the marketing and the awareness that it builds.
Well, I mean,
and it gets people like invested both literally and emotionally, and the price. So I feel like I mean, not only to get the awareness, but like I feel like you have a lot better time keeping people interested over.
Well, and another problem we have is
while you finish it,
the quote unquote incentives that you can give out through Kickstarter. We don't have anything really major to give out for like the person who donates like $100. I'm like, thanks, sir, appreciate it. I will come to your living room and dance for you.
For $1,000, Bill will give you a free blowjob.
No.
I pay $1,000 for that to not happen.
That's just tacky.
Okay, Bill, we'll come to your house in a bikini. You can do whatever you want to film.
Well, I would actually, show up to somebody's house dressed like a chimpanzee and just start dancing in a bikini for them. Maybe crying, definitely cry a little bit.
How much is a reward?
I don't know.
Hey, at least I can say this. It'd be a better reward than backing Broken Age.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing about Broken Age was apparently Tim Schafer really doesn't know how to manage his funds, like, at all.
So we basically learned that Bobby Kotick was right and is the hero gaming needs.
2 + 2 is 50.
Ow.
Well, what kind of cracks me up is like, like someone's like, how would you blow through like $10 million, like so quickly? And he like answers the question like, sure, well, it's like paying the rent in this, luxury San Francisco like building with all this office space and paying all these, top level programmers from MIT, $200,000. That's like you realize you don't need to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
there are more cost-effective ways to. It's like you don't need to bathe in champagne every night. Water works just fine.
It's a case of, really, with Tim Schafer, he is the microcosm that encapsulates everything wrong with AAA development and indie development at the same time. Doesn't know how to manage a budget, overinflated ego, pretentious art game that's really not worth the money paid into it.
Pretentious stock puppet theater.
So yeah, another thing to take consideration with where were we going just before Tim Schafer came up? Smag.
We're busting Jason's balls.
Okay, so hold on. Where were we? We were talking budget and Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Another thing that worries me about that is the idea of saying, hey, you back this Kickstarter, you will get a copy of the game, and I'm thinking I kind of want to make profit off the game, you know. I mean, that's really what it all boils down. You know, that's one of the things that really boils up to, because as much as I like game design, as much as I love that prospect of making video games, I want to be able to eat.
Right.
And also, there's also that slim possibility that something could happen, like the entire team just simultaneously struck by lightning. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we went with the T-shirt concept.
I feel like the people who like pledge enough that they get a copy of the game, like they were probably going to buy it anyway. So like you're probably not cannibalizing sales at that point.
Oh,
you know, and then it's like once you launch, like so like that Kickstarter gets you a certain amount of visibility. Those people hear about it, they donate money. You know, maybe they donate enough to get a copy, and then it's like once you launch, like you get another round of visibility, and that you know you get new people. It's like the same thing happened with like Shovel Knight.
My issue with Kickstarter can be summarized as the following. You are paying money to someone, and it's not considered an investment, so therefore you don't have fraud protection laws for this.
Right, yeah.
I mean, literally, if the Kickstarter goes tits up and it turns out it was a scam, you have no legal recourse outside of maybe complaining to the FTC. And maybe they take a look at it. And maybe they got some precedent under some obscure law, but this is just uncharted territory, and I'm just like, this is not a good idea. This should be... And it's really strange because people have been doing this thing called micro investments in Africa, where it's like you pay $500 and this person can expand their stone quarry or whatever, and then you get some money back. And I'm thinking, why aren't we doing this here with crowdfunding?
Well, this is true, but here's another thing to take consideration with another reason we're going with the T-shirt angle, because well, it works to some extent. If you look at the old school, how the punk bands and metal bands back in the day got their start and get their stuff together. Bands like Green Day, Misfits, Suicidal Tendencies were all strictly DIY, do it yourself. They would actually play the shows. Somebody would bootleg their recordings, spread it around, spread awareness, and they would actually sell their T-shirts to fund the actual album. And that's kind of what we're going with here.
Yeah, it's I think that's a good way to kind of get people invested and like have something tangible, so it's like they can like see it. Like
if only we could take it to a convention.
Yeah, right.
And on top of that, it's a good way of actually expanding awareness of the game. Like you have somebody wearing a bitchin' T-shirt, which is really the key right there. A really good T-shirt, which is, well, there's not going to be... Well, clothes aren't exactly going to go out of style anytime soon.
Right, yeah.
Certain brands of clothes, yeah, but, everybody needs a shirt on their back at one point or another.
But yeah, so, I mean, one of you was saying earlier, it's like Kickstarter, like, isn't, like, you're not treated as an investor, and it's just, I do feel like that's a big problem with it. Not that you're not treated as an investor, but the fact that the people giving money aren't investors, so like they're not doing their due diligence before they give money. So it's like they'll hear an idea like on Kickstarter, like if it sounds like a good idea, like just kind of like in a very shallow, like kind of first impression sense, then they're like, oh my god, and then they give them their money, and like they don't think about like why that might be a bad idea. Like I mean that kind of happened with like the Ouya. It's like, oh my god, wow, it's a Android console, that's so neat, and without anyone looking into like whether or not the people are capable of it, whether or not the plan has holes in it. So it's like because they're able to kind of scam a million people who don't really look too thoroughly into it, they can raise a bunch of money, and then then everything kind of crumbles, and it's like, oh well.
There's Cavat Empire, and then there's I didn't even show off a whole lot of my plans, so there was no real way you could tell it was a scam.
Yeah.
It's like it's a case of even if you're dealing in pink slip stocks, you still have rules and regulations in place of things you can and cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is not on Kickstarter. It's a case of if Jordan Balfour attempted to scam on Kickstarter, he would never have been busted.
Yeah, if you're scamming people selling junk bonds, your ass goes to jail.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just go, oh, well, you should have known better, and then go live in your mansion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those situations where, because of the lack of accountability with crowdfunding sites like that, I don't feel comfortable actually supporting them in any shape or form until they put in some form of regulation that says this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. If you don't meet the project within a certain amount of time allotted,
Right.
then you have to refund them or you are subject to some form of legal recourse. If they did that, then I'd be more comfortable with it.
And I mean, that very well could be coming down the line. But yeah, I mean, stuff like that is why I have never given to a Kickstarter project. But then at the same time, it's like clearly everyone else seems to like it. So it's like if people are gonna use it, and I just kind of feel like may
Well, I
as
mean,
well.
it seems like there's been more and more scrutiny dealt at crowdfunding sites like Kickstarter or Indiegogo because of more quote unquote scams floating around. So more people, you give it time, more people start raising a rabble, and then either Kickstarter will collapse or they will adapt.
Yeah, I suspect it's so big at this point that it will adapt. It's kind of almost like a too big to fail kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many tentacles everywhere.
So basically, Google.
The Kickstarter bubble will burst eventually, and I'm going to be there drinking the tears from that fallout.
Yeah, not so much as drinking tears on my end. I mean, I'll kind of lament it simply because it had the concept itself is sound. The problem is the execution at this point. I mean, the idea of, hey, everybody can contribute as a producer to the game. That I do like because I'm all about power to the people. But when you have people who will abuse that system with absolutely no repercussions, there is a problem that seriously needs to be addressed. And it works on the honor system when you have a lot of people who lack any form of honor.
Are we going to be naming people?
No, we're not, because we're going to take the high road and be classy.
And say these people deserve to be forgotten by history.
Yeah, exactly. Best way to put it. But yeah, I mean, back to limitations of the tech for your game. One of the reasons why we're going with 16-bit is one. Well, there's actually three reasons that justify it. From a business stance, the retro market actually is relatively popular enough to warrant 16-bit. Two.
Yep.
It looks good, and when done right, and we have artists that are competent and that do this stuff right. And three, the actual production reason is we don't have 3D modelers that can do this right. So and plus four, you have a little bit more creative. You have to be the limitations of 16-bit force you to be more creative and with what you're doing. So instead of using, we only had this to work with, please forgive us and give us money, we said, no, this is what we worked with, and this is what we get, and this is what we pulled out of our hat. We had these limitations, and we rocked them. Once again, the way old school horror films, like hell, any of the old Universal monster movies, while they had a decent budget for the time, most of them were still kind of paled in comparison to what were the preferred genres, like your dramas. Your dramas were like multi-million dollar productions even back then, weren't they? Or by our standards, anyway, they were pretty big productions.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I kind of lost my train of thought.
But then again, we're on a budget of zero, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's I do think okay. So a couple things about like limitations. First of all, like I feel like limitations also by having those kinds of constraints placed on you, like it kind of forces you to be more creative and maybe come up with an interesting idea that you wouldn't have come up with in the first place. And also, like I think you get constraints not only by like technology, but also from like budget. So I mean, we were kind of talking earlier about how these so many of these games like needing to sell like millions and millions of copies like just to break even, and like they probably shouldn't have like these gigantic budgets to begin with. It's like, I mean, we kind of assume like, oh, you give a game a bigger budget, it's automatically gonna be better, and that doesn't always happen, because like you don't, by taking limitations and these constraints away, you end up being less creative as a result. And,
Right. I actually think a good example of using your limitations as an asset would be a really good example of this. What?
Down 2.
That's one good example, but that's not what I was going to go with. I was going to say the Resident Evil remake for the GameCube, where they didn't have the fully interactive backgrounds. The scenery was all pre-rendered through art sets. And if you look at Resident Evil on the GameCube compared to what we have now, I dare say it actually looks better than some of the current AAA titles right now. Well, on the 360, because I've seen some stuff on the Xbox One that just makes me gush.
And then you play Resident Evil 6, and then you never want to play another Resident Evil again.
I played the demo for Resident Evil 6, and I said, nope, I'm out, done.
What?
Hey,
you
let's
you
try
didn't
Resident
you what? You didn't enjoy the prospect of Chris Ridgway pulling out a chainsaw from his machine gun to take down the zombie hordes?
No, sir, I didn't like it.
Oh, we are going to go back to Silent Hill to Resident Evil's roots. Endless QuickTime events in the first 10 minutes of the game. Yeah, thanks for proving us.
Yeah.
Thanks for proving you. That's what you're doing there, Konami.
Yep.
I liked it better when they had less QuickTime events.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, if you want to invoke film as an example, just look at the original Star Wars trilogy compared to the prequels. I mean, fuck, the kind of limitations they had to work with, even by standards back then, it was paltry. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't the original Star Wars film built on basically a $2 million budget?
Yeah, I mean, it was extremely shoestring, back then. I mean, even Planet of the Apes had a major budget in comparison, but I think most of that budget was spent on Charlton Heston being involved in the film. Classic film, obviously, but even back then, sci-fi was kind of regarded as the redheaded stepchild of film, just like the horror genre gets constantly crapped on as cheap thrills with little to no substance. Then you have Star Wars come along, which essentially changed the rules of filmmaking. If you get right down to it, it showed that these studios could spend money on a project and receive some serious returns.
Definitely kind of the exception rather than the rule.
Well, I mean, it's once again not a multi-billion-dollar budget, but
Right.
Without Star Wars, there would, I dare say, we wouldn't have a good chunk of the films that we have now today. Let's see here, or heck, even a lot of the actors that we have in major film today. Without Star Wars, there would be no Indiana Jones. There would be no. Let's see here. What are good examples? Right now, there probably wouldn't be a Marvel Cinematic Universe, or there wouldn't be comic book movies, simply because Star Wars showed that you could make money off a quote-unquote niche market. And then you also...
I don't know. I don't feel like the cinematic universe is like, hey, well, 40 years ago, Star Wars did well, so why don't we try and,
Well, I mean, it set the ball in motion, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which came first, StarCraft or Star Wars?
What does that have to do with anything?
Yeah. There's another example.
So, anyway.
Without Star Wars, there would be no Star Trek films. I mean, because at that point, Star Trek had been almost forgotten in the 70s. And then Paramount saw the success of Star Wars. They're like, do we have, what can we do to make that kind of money? And somebody piped up in the board meeting, we have Star Trek. And then, the first film came out, which didn't do too well, so they made another one that had a significantly lower budget, and that made more money.
And then gave us the greatest performance ever.
Hey,
I shall leave you as you left me, as you left her.
You know, here's the thing. I love Wrath of Khan. That's one of like the best geek movies of all time. But man, I can't talk about that movie with my mom because every time Khan comes up, she just starts drooling and says, Ricardo Montalban. Ah.
Dude, if you've watched that scene recently, he looks like he's having an evil gasm at the end of that.
Well, you know, I'm sure that's happening today with the reincarnation of Khan with Benedict Cumberbatch. He just drives all the ladies wild.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, you lost me.
Yeah.
Star Trek Into Darkness? Oh, you mean Star Trek Into Reference?
Yeah, we'd all be a lot happier if we didn't talk about that one.
No. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about
we're
how
talking
it could
video
be.
games. We're talking video games.
But the good thing I don't know what you guys are talking about anyways.
We're talking about making video and trying to get people to listen to us.
But yeah, to like bring it back to like Dead Space 3, like one of the main problems was that Dead Space's horror was really more about cramped, confined spaces and zero-G and fucking, the vacuum of space. Where are we half the game, in the later half of the game? We are on the planet where our main danger is things that go boo from the snow and freezing to death. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, this isn't Dead Space. Where's the space?
Right, but with the
It's ironic.
it is ironic.
I mean, it's called Dead Space, yet your character is alive. Just blew your minds.
Mind blown. But yeah, although I think there's a little bit more hope for survival horror in the AAA market when you take into consideration Alien Isolation doing well. I actually didn't that one actually do pretty well recently?
Yeah, it did very well.
Alien Isolation.
Which actually surprised me because of how bad Colonial Marines did.
Yeah.
People were willing to forgive, and
well, they said, wait, an actual Alien game that's survival horror, and what?
And it's made by Creative Assembly, the guys that made Total War. They made a good survival horror game? What the fuck?
Oh, just real quick, I want to bring something up. It's like we were talking about how games have these ridiculous budgets and everything. H1Z1, like that's survival horror, I guess. But it's been like one of the best-selling games on Steam for like a few months now, and like they've had to like lay people off. And it's like you're already like making the most money you can, and yet that's not enough for you guys. Like you have to lay that's just a sign. Like you're spending way too much money.
Hey, that's why it's gonna be more entertaining when they fall.
No, the way I view it is this: the publishers are Nero fiddling while Rome burns.
Right, and the sad thing is, it doesn't really have to be that way. I mean, as a publisher, the way I see it, and I could be wrong on this, all you really have to worry about is the budget and the quality of what these guys are working on. Peek in on what everybody's doing, making sure nobody's messing around, and if you do it right, don't give anybody, don't give them too much budget, and don't give them a shoestring budget. And if you have a solid title to work with, you should do well. But that could just be me, idealizing, I suppose, or lack of experience.
Yeah, I think the idea is sound, but I'm sure there's more to it. I mean, for instance, like the publishers kind of have to look at the trends, so it's like even if people are doing a good job, like making a competent game with solid game design and everything, that they're making a product that people are going to actually want. And I think that's where you see a lot of meddling. It's like they'll step in and be like, hey, this Call of Duty's making a ton of money, make it more like Call of Duty, and that's kind of the genesis, I think, of a lot of that.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's
Which and by the way, having just made a game that we put a ton of work into, and got to pursue our own creative vision and everything. I kind of I don't know. I kind of wish maybe there had been some smart person who tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, people don't like to run super fast."
I don't know.
So
Tribes did well for a minute.
So basically,
Tribes Ascend.
I don't know. Maybe that works a little better in that game. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a case of people want to go Sonic.
Got to go fast and shoot things. That's basically Tribes Ascend.
Right. But I mean that's what we traded with Rack, but so everyone sits down and plays it, and like right off the bat they're like, "Oh my god, it's so fast!" and I don't know. It's something people get used to, but I kind of wonder if maybe that turns some people off right off the bat. I don't know, but
oh yeah. I mean, that's one of the situations where definitely pursue the creative vision, but make sure it works.
Right? Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I mean it does work, but like it's a question of like, is it a trendy thing right now? Is there an audience for it?
Well, I mean, there's pretty much an audience for anything. I mean, if people are willing to sit down and gush about how awesome Gone Home was, or how brilliant I get this call every day is, there's definitely going to be an audience for your game. You just got to figure out how to find that audience and say, "Hey guys, we got this for you." I mean, it really all depends on how you market it. I mean, case in point, great film. Really good films were killed not because of the quality, the problem with production or glaring loopholes or plot holes. English, how does it work? Or critical, being slammed by the critics. It's more along the lines that they were just poorly marketed. Really good example.
I like the Wii U.
Yeah, the Wii U is one example of consoles not being really well marketed, or the Dreamcast, another good example of that.
Yeah.
But the good example of film, let me guess, it's Dread.
Dread is one, and Punisher Warzone is another one. I mean, they try to sell, these films weren't really well marketed. Nobody knew what the film was out there. And then it got on DVD and word of mouth spread. And everyone was like, "Dude, check this movie out." And it gained a cult following.
Mm-hmm.
I just want a sequel to Dread.
I would be happy if Netflix picked it up.
Hey, a Dread series. Now there's an idea.
That makes me happy. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to getting the game out there and finding the audience, it really all depends on how you market it. If you say this is, let's look at, go back to Dead Space 3, for example. It's supposed to be a seriously intense survival horror title, yet it turns out to be another third-person shooter. That didn't really do well because it was not, it wasn't as marketed as such. And that's one of the many failings. And we could probably pick apart EA all day. I mean, I kind of feel like we're kicking somebody that's curled up on the ground in a fetal position at this point.
Yeah, but we're kicking a Soviet commissar who's down in the fetal position. Do we really want to feel bad about that?
Yeah.
Either way, they just don't want. They just won't learn how to market. They need to fire the marketing department.
Well, I mean, there's that. I mean, there's, like I said, there's many problems with EA. Many problems. I mean,
I need to fire my marketing department. You guys have at least heard of EA and all their games. No one's heard of anything I've done.
Oh, all right. I mean, are you kidding? We can't really do marketing for Beans. We're holding a stream with someone that's actually relatively well known with 3 people listening. All of them us, probably.
Hey, we've done okay with marketing.
We got Tech Raptor. Tech Raptor likes us.
Yay!
I like Tech Raptor. They're cool.
It was kind of cool and also sad when it's like they posted some article on Rack and it got like 40, 50 like retweets or something, and I was like, oh man, that's probably gonna lead to like a ton of sales. And I go look and it's like 2. It's like, god damn it.
I mean, our interview got our dev blog like 200 views, I think, on our blog.
Cool.
Like,
Yeah,
wow,
why don't you try and get an interview with Tech Raptor? They're trying to do indies.
yeah.
I'm sure like for this upcoming thing I'm sure I'll reach out to them.
Our fine YouTubers that would be interested in this, like,
We got more than 5.
yeah, I mean, there are a lot of YouTubers out there that are trying to stream, constantly on the search for content.
Yeah, I tried to, I tried to find as many as I could and message them, and like almost nobody like ended up doing videos.
Tell
It
me
sucked,
that you
like,
weren't. Tell me you weren't using YouTube's message system because they didn't see it.
I don't know. We had a PR person working for it. She probably did that.
Well, I mean,
You
one
need
of the
to
things,
hit up chats. Like,
Well,
you need to
that's why I'm trusting like a professional to do this, because
There is no such thing as PR and professional these days.
Hey, what about me?
well, you're not.
Well,
professional.
you're the exception. I'm more referring to those who will not be named.
Well, anyway, as I was saying though, I mean, one of the things that we ended up doing is Firewolf ended up getting on PewDiePie's forums
Really?
and started talking with a bunch of his, the quote unquote bros about the game that we're working on, and we have
cool.
people literally saying, "Hey, dude, when you get done, give us demo, give it to us."
That's cool.
So I mean, you gotta go straight to the people.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean one of the things we did kind of leading up to the release is we went to QuakeCon, like we had a booth set up where it's like people could come swing by and check out the game. Even John Romero came by. It's like the co-creator of Doom and all that. And
That's cool.
you wrote like "Rack is great" on a T-shirt and gave it to us. So, I mean that was super cool.
That is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then before that, the creator of Mega Man, when we were at SGC, Keiji Inafune, like came by and saw the game, and he was like taking pictures of our like poster, and like he was just like really interested in the game. He said it reminded him of like a first-person Mega Man game, which is exactly what we were going for. So I mean that was super cool.
Yeah.
It just sucks when you try and like we put that in the trailer, because I mean that's like the way he saw it was kind of how we wanted to position the game with people, but like everyone just like no one cared, like they all just like glossed over it, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, man, it's Doom. It's just...
Well, yeah, I mean, again, it's one of those situations where you gotta really find people that yeah, it's one of those situations where right now, how many Let's Players are interested in our game right now, Firewolf?
So, like, I don't know how many friends Zenith has in his gun. Like, I don't know how many he's gonna bring in. But there's Zenith, there's...
Just a number. Just give us a number. Just about, like, what? How many people are playing it?
7 to 10, give or take.
7 or 10? Okay, so that gives us, that's one of those situations where they might not be extremely big fish in YouTube, but a bunch of little fish together makes one big school.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's definitely true. And I mean also like I mean if you can get those like while you're in development or kind of early on, like it can be like a big confidence booster.
Yeah, and, just like the Tech Raptor review we got.
Right.
When that hit, that was essentially a really big morale boost for the team.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's that. I must brew more coffee.
Someone moving their mic around.
But yeah, that really was a huge morale booster.
Yeah, I mean, it pumped everyone up. Said, "All right, let's do this. We're ready."
Yeah. But I one other thing I've kind of observed with kind of the general gaming audience, like people just have such short attention spans, It's
Candy pie.
I wouldn't say the attention span really is. It's one of those situations where I think the gaming audience, or the audience in general, is jaded in sense, some sort of sense. Where if it's something, it's something that doesn't catch their attention within like 5 minutes, they're not going to be interested.
Right. Yeah.
I can honestly say that really one of the last 2 games where I played from start to finish and was just like, I want more, let's go again, was like Deus Ex Human Revolution and Just Cause 2. Okay? That is pathetic.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Pro tip: market to kids. They're not as jaded.
I know, right?
Or
But it's kind of hard to market to kids when you're doing a survival horror title that
Well,
deals with
yeah,
near-death
yeah.
experiences.
I mean, for you that might not be so good.
Yeah, so
yeah. Try to get YouTubers.
Well, I don't know. Like 17, 18. I mean.
Oh yeah, but when I hear kids, I think the wee ones. I'm thinking, that's the last. That's like the last people we really want to do that to, because it's bad enough we're dealing, in the current social climate with taboo subjects such as actual physical assault on a female character. Rape, let's put it that way. That's gonna be enough. That's gonna be enough right there to have the torches and pitchforks thrown out our direction. This saying, hey, we're marketing to kids. That's no.
Oh, by the way, hey, you need people to market your game? Well, try using the Let's Player chat on this site. I have advice for you.
Yeah, I mean, might not be much advice, but a tip's like, hey, it's not like pro tip. It's like, hey, it's working for us ish.
Yeah.
Might help.
Looks cool. Yeah. I'll definitely look more into this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, like that site has a Let's Player chat, so.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. They should probably make me some hamburgers. Hamburgers. Oh.
Yeah, I would say we're doing pretty well, at least with marketing.
Oh yeah, there's a little bit of awareness. I mean, we're obviously not well known, but it's obviously just talk about it when you're making the game, saying, "Hey, this is what I'm working on." I mean, even if it's just your friends and family looking at it, surely enough they'll say, "Hey, my buddy's working on this game. You might want to check it out."
Right.
Yeah, and people are already saying they want to buy it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I guess just the important thing is just kind of build that momentum. Kind of use the confidence that'll get you, and use the feedback you get from them to make a better product, and just kind of keep moving forward.
Yeah. Just hope it doesn't derail any.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Pray that it does not crash into a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you want to break through the wall, not crash into the wall. That would hurt. Or we're talking.
I hope the wall is made of like balsa wood or.
Nah, no. In all luck, it's probably not even a brick wall. It's that would just we don't even have the luck for that. Something forged from titanium, saying nope, you're not getting through here unless you're Superman.
Adamantium wall.
Oh, ooh, that would hurt.
I would just take the adamantium. Forget crashing into it. Just take the whole thing.
Well, you're not exactly matter-eating lad, so I don't think that's going to work.
So you get to be like Wolverine, though.
No, it's a wall made of adamantium. You're not getting through that.
Well, he was saying you just pick it up, just like pick up the wall and.
Yeah, exactly.
Just get something made of vibranium and smack it against the wall.
Why does that sound dirty?
Because
it's meant to be.
Just grab a piece of vibranium and penetrate the wall with it.
That's what she said.
Oh.
I have coffee brewing.
Oh, there is one hard part, though. Getting the actual product made.
Obviously. Well, I mean, if you actually stick to it, but I think it's more of an issue when everyone working on the game has to either be in school or a day job.
Yeah, but didn't we lose some people?
Not recently.
Couple, but not recently.
Yeah. I mean, so far everybody's still on the team. I mean, our artists and our spriters are actually finishing up school for the month, while our programmer or modeler is continuing to work, and our musicians are doing their thing. So, yay, progress.
Progress is good.
Progress is very good.
Progress is better than not progress.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, Brad, did you lose anyone? Oh,
Yeah. Here's a question. How hard was it to keep people working on your team? I'm not sure if you were actually able to pay anybody for working on the team. So.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the like early on, like when I'm first the very early days, I wasn't doing that. And I think that ended up being a problem. But it's like once I kind of started to like pay people, like for certain people, like I don't think it really mattered all that much. Like they were just happy to be working on it, and like they just like they just wanted to make a good game. It's like they were already like in school or whatever, and they were supported. So like the money wasn't as much of a motivating factor to them. But then to certain others, who were more professional, kind of did it more for a living. Like, I mean that ended up being really helpful for them. So it's I mean it kind of what's nice about kind of the indie world is like I mean you like if you're like EA, I mean you can't really get away with like not paying someone for something. Well, in this, it's I mean a lot of times you can have relationships with people and they'll be happy to do stuff with you without charging an arm and a leg or just not a lot in general. So.
yeah, I remember my family getting on my ass about not getting paid.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's one of those situations where when they bring that up, you just gotta say, look, this is an indie project. We're
Right.
all
Yeah.
doing this for the experience, and well, worst case scenario, if we get the game made and nobody's interested whatsoever, at least everyone has a good resume piece.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean for a lot of people, I mean that's a perfectly fine arrangement.
And we have a potential future project.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's if it works out well, and we actually manage to be successful.
Mhm.
We could actually sustain ourselves without going to Kickstarter, without hawking T-shirts or whatever.
Right.
Granted,
No,
that's
I mean
still,
I wrote that thing but as a precaution, like if it doesn't do good.
Hmm.
once again, if it doesn't do good, then everyone has a nice resume piece to say, hey, look, I did this. You guys totally can hire me. I do the work. I did this for, and then just go into the interview with all that, with your proper techniques or whatever.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people like they think money is like just kind of the ultimate motivator, and it's like the only motivator for people. And I definitely don't think that's true. I mean, certainly that is true for some people. They're gonna go and do whatever job pays the most and just throw themselves into it 100%. But I mean, a lot of people like they value kind of autonomy and kind of being able to have control over what they do and how to approach it, and there's all these different little like dimensions of little factors that just make people happy when they do a job. And I mean definitely money definitely isn't the only one.
Oh yeah, I mean, if money is the sole reason you're working a gig, that usually means the gig's probably not really worth working, to be perfectly honest,
Mhm.
or you need to pay the bills.
Right.
Like that's sort of like the only reason I ever worked somewhere like Rallies or McDonald's or whatever, because I needed to pay the bills.
Right.
Working warehouses or something like that, again, the work sucks, the hours are crap, but it pays the bills.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, games are largely projects of passion, so you don't see a lot of that, when it comes to game development. So, yeah, especially on the indie side.
Oh yeah. I mean, once again, money's nice, and again, it's nice to be able to pay pay the bills and put food in your gut. And ideally, definitely, but it's all mainly about getting the game made. Simply to say, hey, I made this game. I want to do this for a living. I want to make this a career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, it's something they care about. They want to do something they can be proud of. They can show off, and and they do it. So there's like a community they can belong to, and something they can be part of. So.
Yeah. So the engine for Rack, was that a in-house engine, or did you use something else?
It's in-house. Did it all myself because I have no life. I've never seen the sun before. So it ended up. It's. I mean, like this game started like so long ago that it's. I mean, this is kind of like before like Unity was like a big thing. This is like before. Like UE was like a big thing. Like even more recently, they've kind of made some of these things free, or in the case of the Unreal Engine, quote unquote free, because to them free is like we take 20% of your lifetime revenues. Like, yeah, sure, that's free. That means the same thing.
You will pay us royalties, or we will lock your content.
Yeah, it's you'll pay us, or we'll take possession of your firstborn child and
Oh, speaking of Unreal, hey Bill, you want to talk about Dennis Dyack?
No, I don't want to talk about Dennis Dyack.
You want to talk about the sequel to Eternal Darkness?
Okay, if we're going to talk about Dennis Dyack, let's use that as a perfect example of what not to do in any form of game design. If your game fails miserably, you don't blame the audience for not getting you, because that makes you look like a pretentious jerk.
Mm-hmm.
And you certainly don't sue the people who leased the engine to you, because that pretty much says that you're going to be a problem to me.
So like he used the Unreal Engine and sued Epic?
Yeah, he did.
Why?
And lost. And then they won, and now all games that they made with that engine had to be recalled.
What?
Yeah.
That means X-Men, 2 Human, and something else. There's not on the market anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, 2 Human was, his Artur project, his quote unquote his baby, if you will, and he was really devastated that it didn't do well.
Right.
And instead of looking at what he did, instead of looking at the game and seeing, trying to analyze it and figure out what went wrong, he blamed basically everyone else for his shortcomings. I mean,
that's a sign. That's not a good thing.
And what's sad is that, according to him, they were going to work on Eternal Darkness 2 once they finished that.
Well, actually, no. What happened with Eternal Darkness 2 was, again, I know this is a big no-no in the movie scene, but I'm not sure how big of an issue this is in the gaming industry. But what happened was apparently Dennis Dyack pulled resources and funding from X-Men Destiny, the game he was supposed to be working on, to try and start working on Eternal Darkness 2. So using funds for a game he was commissioned to make another game, that I'm not sure if that's illegal or violates some form of contract, but
I'm sure.
I'm sure it sounds fishy, to say the least.
Right.
And then when people tried to launch the Kickstarter for what was it called?
Shadows of the Eternal. Yeah.
And then one of their employees got busted for having kitty porn on their servers, and it's vanished beneath the waves.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So yeah, the dream is dead.
I came to accept that long ago.
You know, and
It
people like
still
that
hurts.
fuck things up for everyone else, which
yeah.
really
It's like, yes, I will say this: if Dennis Dyack put in an application, I would hire him as a court jester, maybe.
Hey-o.
But yeah, it's like, wow, dude, you have officially burned every bridge possible.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine his audience likes him anymore. I couldn't imagine Epic likes him anymore. Couldn't imagine the people who contract him to do stuff like him anymore.
Yeah, he pretty much hoisted the black flag.
He was the Phil Fish before Phil Fish.
Yeah, for some reason people still like Phil Fish.
I thought he was a long-haired DJ dude now.
Now he is.
I still laugh every time I see that picture of him in the long hair now.
Isn't he wearing a T-shirt with like his face on it or something?
He just let himself go.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Oh, but anyway, like I said though, I mean, that's kind of one. That's what I took away from Dennis Dyack's misadventures in the gaming industry. Don't do any of those things mentioned.
Yeah.
It's a case of Dennis Dyack is a great cautionary tale to any would-be designer.
Right.
And,
now,
I think we need a lot of those, like especially now when it's like the indie scene is coming up. It's like we're in such like unprecedented territory right now. Like it's like a whole new era basically. So it's like people need lessons, so they know that. Hey, idiot! Don't do this.
I'm pretty sure there's already lessons being taught.
To hear the Indies tell it the Empire is collapsing and the hordes of barbarians are feasting on its corpse.
Right.
I'm pretty sure there are lessons being taught already.
Yeah, I mean, there definitely is a shakeup going on.
Did you just call all Indies barbarians? Is that what you?
No.
I call
the
them
unwashed masses that are us. Me, Templar, and Nathan. I wouldn't, because I don't know if you're unwashed. I'm pretty sure you shower on a regular basis.
I do.
Okay.
Pro tip: shower.
Yes, showers are fun, kids. But apparently there's like really a big shakeup going on in the indie scene after certain controversial events took place. But
they now think that their empire is collapsing.
Are you talking about certain events with certain sock puppets?
Certain sock puppets. I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I love it.
Where's my popcorn?
That's what I'm doing. I'm just watching with popcorn. Staying neutral, watching with popcorn.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna force an argument on this or anything like that, but still, it's interesting to see where it's interesting. I'm interested to see where the indie scene is going now, because like I said, there are more and more people showing up saying, "Hey, we got this interesting bit of concept here that nobody heard of before because of, well, whether it be lack of marketing prowess or a indifferent press that wasn't interested in anybody that wasn't their friends." Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, and it's it's like 3, so I gotta wrap this up here because I gotta record a new episode of my podcast here shortly. I mean that's part of like my reason for starting the podcast in the first place. It's I feel like there's so much emphasis right now on concept and like how new a game is, and like I kind of feel like that's a bad thing. It's like you think about like movies, like people generally don't go to movies for like the gimmick, like the novelty of it. You generally go see a movie because it's like quality. It's like they do suspense well, they do action well. They execute on all these different principles, and So it's like if there's like a quality movie out there, it's like people go see it. But it's like with games, I think a lot, it's just kind of like, oh, that's a neat idea. Oh my god, I need to buy this, and then it's like you're bored in 5 minutes because like the idea got old after 5 minutes, and the game didn't execute on its various principles of design. And I think that if there's too much emphasis on that, like we're gonna run out of good ideas eventually, and it's gonna be hard to sustain the industry, or at least kind of like the indie sub industry.
Right. I mean, it's one of those situations. It's whatever happens, the current scene, it'll be replaced. I mean, it's sort of like one of the things that happened with gaming press before 2009. I mean, before then, there were actually internet radio stations that served as the news outlets for gaming, like MMO Radio or sites like places like Awakened Radio that were pretty much there for the community, by the community.
Right.
When that went up, the gaming press sites came into play, and now we have YouTubers coming in to essentially pick up the flag.
The way I put it,
now
the
I have
Titans
PewDiePie
have
making
been...
goofy noises into a microphone instead of actual reporting. Anyway.
analysis. But yeah, it's a case of the Titans have been slain. Now it is time for the Greek god pantheon to rise.
Yeah, once again, I wouldn't put it as grandiose or hyperbolic. I mean, like I said, what is old is new again. That's really the best way to put it.
The cycle repeats.
Yeah, and eventually, the YouTubers will run into their problem, and then they'll be replaced by something else, and then that will be replaced. I mean, it's a constant cycle of evolution. It's a never-ending cycle of evolution, if you will.
Yeah,
So,
definitely true.
Right,
Anyway, well, on that note, I gotta get going. So.
All right, yeah, definitely take care. And if you ever need somebody to hang out with and talk video games, hey, we're here. We're lonely. Please talk to us.
Well, hey, it was fun. I mean, I'd be happy to do it again sometime. So.
All right, and if you definitely want to have us on your podcast, if that's okay, we want attention because our daddies never hugged us.
Yeah, I think I might like that. I'll hit you guys up on Twitter, and maybe work something out as far as booking you on future episode or something. So yeah, that'd be great.
All right, cool. Yeah,
Cool.
bye.
Sweet.
Attention.
Later, guys.
Later. Mods are asleep. Post ponies.
Well, that didn't quite work out well for us. We had I think we topped out at 4 viewers, and man, we just really suck at streaming, don't we?
It's late at night
Yeah.
on a weekend. People are too busy drinking themselves into a stupor because
Not to mention it's Easter.
Yeah, we're kind of like we're kind of like the show the Fox doesn't like, so they just put us on the dead zone. Except we do it to ourselves.
we do it for
you know.
free.
No, it's sort of like, hey, there's a bus, let's jump under it. Nobody's throwing us. We're like lemmings at this point.
We're doing backflips into it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a case of I am going to love to see how this industry reorganizes itself when it inevitably implodes.
Oh yeah.
Hey, aren't we in this industry?
Yeah, but we're on the fringes. It's a case of like the example of the Roman Empire. We're on the fringes of the Germanic tribes.
Yeah, we're it's sort of like the Anglo-Saxon tribes just starting to come into play here.
So wait, we're gonna take over the British Isles and then get sacked by the Normans?
Okay, let's rephrase that. Yes. But yeah.
You and your Romans, Templar.
Hey, I have been binging on Rome 2, and after the shit I put up with in that game, I just want a sequel to Rome that doesn't suck. I mean, seriously, Creative Assembly, what the fuck happened to you guys?
Alright.
Ah,
I'm gonna cook a hamburger.
And then you'll eat it.
Oh yeah. So yeah,
Complete
we got a couple of people that liked our tweets, and I don't think anybody actually retweeted us or anything. Well,
Well, we got unfortunate with that Tech Raptor dude again.
Well, it's a case of.
Alright, so yeah, let's just go ahead and kill this now because, yeah, we're the only ones
This is
here.
officially a bear. It's officially embarrassing you.
Yeah, basically.
Ah,
Nobody's
how's
here.
how's this humiliating? This is hilarious.
Oh yeah, this is fun, but I'm like, we're the only people at the party. I think it's time to, clean up and go home.
Ah, fuck that. Let's get wasted.
Oh yeah, but my tablet's actually about to die, so I kind of need to charge.
Ah.
So yeah, anybody still listening to this, thank you for coming. Definitely thank Brad for showing up. And fire open up capture. Smile. No, I'm not smiling.
Turn
Sorry,
the camera off.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess we'll try this again sometime in the near future in a time slot that doesn't, suck on toast. So yeah. Later.
Boop.